Morning, sixth grade. It's Monday, May 18th. Today we're going to be continuing with our Module 4. We have this week, it's a 5-day week, and then next week, and then we're done. So let's finish strong. Just an update on the winners. Congrats to Simone, Ashari, Endia, Jaquay, Judah, Mayana, and Promise. You guys did an awesome job. So check the mail this coming week for a prize. Nice job. That was super hilarious. You guys rocked it. All right, let's put Christ first and pray. Lord, thank you for a new week. Thank you that you promise to be with us always. Thank you that you promise us that since you did the hardest thing ever, giving up your own son to die for us, you will give us what we need. We can trust you for that because you did it through Christ. So help us to trust you to give us what we need, and help us to remember that if we don't have it, we must not need it because you would give it to us. We ask you to provide for any students who are in need. Give us what we need. We pray this in your name, God. Amen. All right, we're in the book of John, Module 4. We have been diving in, and we're starting with our verse. We are going to have a quiz on this today, actually. After you practice it, then you're going to take your quiz. So it goes like this. Here it is. Ready, set, go!
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Come on.
He was in the beginning with God.
All things. Ready, go!
All things were made through Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it.
Awesome. Starting tomorrow, we'll be learning a few more verses. Just kidding. It says quiz tomorrow, so I guess you're having a quiz on that tomorrow. Okay, here we go. Our objective for today is you're going to use, actually, I think your quiz on this is today. I have to double check. So we'll see. You're going to use a secondary source. Today, you're going to use a sermon to determine the central meaning of John 10. So let's jump in. Guidance from others helps bring clarity to our own ideas. It's a pattern statement. Just a review, we learned about Jesus saying, I am the bread of life. Here are some really great thoughts from some scholars. Feel free to pause it and read through those. Then we learned that Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Again, some really great thoughts. I don't think we read all these yet, but these used to be on the bulletin board out in the hallway so you could read them all. Obviously, you can't read them all when we're not at school. So pause it if you'd like to read through those. They're pretty sweet. Today's lesson is I am the door, and as you can see from the bottom of the screen, we're in John chapter 10. Take a look at this wall made out of stone. You can see the sheep inside, and here's the shepherd. He's kind of blocking the way. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. First of all, I just want you to look at these 3 pictures. And I want you to answer the questions below on your exit ticket. What's happening? If you live next door, what would you do if you saw this? And in one word, how would you describe these people? So go ahead, pause the video now. Write down what you think is happening, what you would do if you live next door, and how you describe these people in a word. Go ahead. Okay, so I don't know what you answered. I want you to leave it. Don't change it based on what I'm telling you, because I'll know if you did it based on what I'm telling you. So just leave what you had. It's not going to be marked wrong. I just want to know what you thought. This guy in the red is Tunde, one of Mr. Tyson's oldest sons. So Tunde lived in Chicago, and then he lived in Mississippi, and his mom knew Mr. Tyson and said, he's not doing, there aren't really good schools in Mississippi. Can he come and live with you in Milwaukee? And so Mr. Tyson sort of took him in, didn't officially adopt him, but took him in and raised him basically when he was in high school. And so he calls Mr. Tyson his dad, and that's how they treat each other, like father and son. So that is Tune Day. Well, Mr. Tyson bought this house right here for really inexpensive. Like it was destroyed on the inside. And Mr. Tyson likes to buy houses that are destroyed and then fix them up and work really hard and spend hours and hours and hours and days fixing them. Well, this is one of those, except he didn't have a key to get inside because the people who sold it to him said, sorry, you're on your own. You got to find a way in. And so they, Mr. Tyson hoisted up, this is Mr. Tyson, he hoisted up Tunde. Tunde pulled this window down and it was unlocked. And then Tunde climbed in and then he let Mr. Tyson in the door. He unlocked it. So actually what was happening is Mr. Tyson was getting into his own house that he owned. If I lived next door, I'd be like, call the cops, right? And in one word, I want to hear, I can't wait to read what you said. In one word, how would you describe these people? Don't change it based on what I said, but I'm just interested to hear what you're going to say, so I'm not going to say anything. But you might have thought they were like doing breaking in or there was a crime happening, but it wasn't. It was just someone breaking into his own house. Interesting. Okay, so that was the 411. Let's dive into our text. It's John 10. It goes like this. Truly, truly, I say to you, this is Jesus talking. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. That reminds me of this right here. They're climbing in through the window. This is what you should be picturing in your head. If somebody is entering through this wall, he is there to steal or to destroy. Could be a person, could be a wolf, right? And here is the shepherd. Okay, let's read that again. Truly or truly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he's brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. This figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. I'm just going to pause here for a second. I have a friend, her name's Colleen. She has a dog named Bailey. Bailey hears my voice and doesn't do a thing. But when he hears my friend Colleen's voice, that dog runs like crazy. It can be anywhere, and he will run to her because he knows her voice. It's the same with the sheep and shepherd. Let's see what Jesus has to say. Thanks for being patient here. Okay. So Jesus again said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. Oh, there it is. I am the door of the sheep. Interesting. Jesus is the door. How? Let's read. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. You may have heard this before. Let's find out a little bit more about what this means. We're going to look at a blog. So that's an updated online publication. And it's written in like an informal or conversational style. Sometimes it's written in article form, okay? This is a blog. It's called The Door of the Sheep. It's written in more of a formal style, actually. It's like a devotional. Here we go. It goes, after the light of the world, remember Jesus just said, I am the light of the world. After the light of the world brings light to blind eyes at the pool of Siloam, the newly healed man enters into a heated discussion with the Pharisees and is eventually excommunicated. That means sent out of the religious organization. Jesus then finds him and elicits true worship from the man. Unlike those who followed the Savior around, thinking they had unique insights into the things of God, this prompts Jesus to discuss shepherding and declare, I am the door. Okay, so he's saying, the author of this is saying, Ligonier Ministries is a group of people, by the way. It's like saying by St. Marcus, like it's an organization. So the authors are saying that Jesus just told the people that he's the light of the world. This man was healed. He gets sent away from by the Pharisees. Jesus goes and finds him and then draws out real worship. But the people who are following Jesus, they think they understand him and they don't. And then Jesus talks about being a shepherd and says, I am the door. Still a little confused. Let's keep reading. More specifically, Jesus claims to be the door of the sheep. And later on, the good shepherd. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. At first, it might seem strange that Jesus is talking about sheep and shepherding right after healing the man born blind. But there's good reason for a discourse including these metaphors. In context, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, who were the leaders and teachers of Israel. The leaders of Israel were often likened to shepherds and to people, to sheep. Sorry, let me read that again. The leaders of Israel were often likened to shepherds and the people to sheep. Oh, so the leaders were often compared to as being the shepherds, and the people were often compared to as being the sheep. David, for example, who was a shepherd king, would prefigure the ultimate shepherd king, Jesus Christ. In these verses, Jesus contrasts himself as a true shepherd with the thieves and robbers who came before him in the form of false teachers that included many of the Pharisees. Yikes. So when Jesus was saying that thieves and robbers had come before him, he's actually talking about the Pharisees, which I'm sure they did not like. The focus, this is the last page, guys. The focus of our passage is on Jesus being the door, and specifically the door of the sheepfold. On an average day in Israel, sheep could be found grazing in pastures and drinking from streams. Once night fell, however, the sheep were brought into the sheepfold, a structure commonly made of stone with briars atop the wall that served as impediments to thieves. Oh, that kind of reminds me of I've been to visit people in prison before, and they have like barbed wire at the top, so you can't crawl over. It's an impediment. And so they put briars or like thorns so that thieves wouldn't want to get in. This left the gate as the only proper entryway, and so a guardian was placed there to guard the sheep from thieves and wild animals. Oftentimes, several different flocks were placed in the same sheepfold at night. The sheep were not lost, however, because each sheep would know its own shepherd's voice and would come when a shepherd called. That's like when I used to go to foster classes. Mr. Tyson and I would have to take all these classes to become foster parent certified, and in order to adopt the kids, we had to do these and to get like renew our license and stuff. And so we'd take the kids to like the daycare there while we would then go and take classes, and they would give us free babysitting. Well, when you'd walk into the room, if the kids were busy watching a movie or working and coloring, all you had to do was say your child's name, or you had to say, guess who's here? And you didn't even have to say your child's name. And the child, it was so funny because any parent who did it, it happened. The kids would know exactly that their whose parent was there, and if their parent was the one, they would come running, even if they didn't even hear their name, if the parent just said something. So just in the same way, if all these sheep are in the sheepfold and maybe there's two shepherds and two groups of sheep, they could be mixing in there. The shepherd, when he calls his sheep, they know his voice and they come to him. Last paragraph. Jesus uses this earthly image to convey two important things. The first of these is that God has a sanctuary, a safe place to bring his sheep, where he will save and keep them forever. Oh, sounds like heaven. Secondly, the only way to get into this sanctuary is through its one and only door, Jesus Christ. Oh, so just like you can only get into the sheepfold one way, you can only get into heaven one way. The only access we have to God is through Christ and him alone. Wow, that's cool. Okay, here we go. We are going to take a look at this video. It's pretty quick.
He claims that I am the door. I am the entry point. I am the access. Therefore, anybody else who claims to have any type of sanction to give to speak on religious things is a thief and a robber. But Muhammad says good things. He's a thief and a robber. What about Buddha? Well, he's a thief and a robber. Well, all religions, we do a lot of good things, and we all say the same things. No, they're thieves and they're robbers. I am the only individual that has true access to the sheep. Anyone else is a thief and a robber. So we may live in a time where spirituality may be big and may be high, but there's a difference between being spiritual and being Christian. So all of this relativism, all of this nonsense about coexisting, and it lies in the face of who I say that I am. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. We can't put me in any other category. He gives us the ability to be secure. He says, if anyone comes through the narrow gate, the narrow door, if anyone comes through me, they will be saved. Jesus gives us the ability to overcome our sin because he gives us the ability to find security in him. There's this security, there's this agape love. It's not the type of love that you and I have for one another. There's this unconditional love. There's this love that says that I will never leave you, I will never forsake you, that he never loses any of his sheep, and that he desires for us to have relationship. But the problem is that we seek after guidance, we seek after affirmation, we seek after permission. But the problem, we don't seek after him. And this is why he says, I am the door. Therefore, I am the only true life. True life doesn't come in by following the words of the thieves and the robbers who tries to steal, kill, and destroy, who may give you the temporal pleasure but won't satisfy the deepest need. Only Christ will do that.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that video. I love it because it's just such a good reminder to seek Christ, and he is the only way. We hear so many voices. The kids and I are watching some Disney Plus movies lately. We just got Disney Plus, and we are listening to how Disney's like, follow your heart, follow your dreams, listen to yourself. And Jesus says, no, listen to me. Follow me. I am the way. You're not the way. I am the way. You're going to do race, restate, answer, cite, and explain. Pause this screen if you need to. This is your question. What main idea was Jesus seeking to convey to the disciples in John 10:1 through 10? Do not write, Jesus was seeking to convey the fact that he was the door. Tell me what that meant, that he was the door. What did he mean when he said, I am the door? Okay, I just gave you a huge clue. You just need to tell me what the main idea of I am the door is. Okay, guys, I'm just going to check right over here. I do think, oh no, your verse quiz is tomorrow. My bad. So this is actually correct when it says quiz tomorrow. You can practice it one more day. All right. I love you guys. I miss you, and have a great Monday. See you soon. Bye.